Kevin, what's up, brother?
Hey Ike, thanks for the opportunity to speak.
No problem, man. You are a fun follow. You are very modest on your posts, and it's a breath of fresh air, especially on the hostile platform like Twitter. But I appreciate you, man. I saw your post with Aljamain Sterling. That was the most recent post.
Yes.
But did you come across Juliana Pena's injury
Oh
with
yeah.
her?
That was back in 2014. She had
Okay.
she just destroyed her knee, and it was a training injury, as I recall. I remember at the time Dana White
Yep.
just about blew a gasket, telling her she needs to get out of that gym, and I can't remember where she was training, but yeah, that was in 2014. She was supposed to fight Jessica Andrade, I think, but right
Good
now.
memory, man. Yeah.
Well, right now there's another fighter that's in a similar boat. That's Tatiana Suarez. That lady has been injury plagued so bad, but she has had a bad knee injury. I don't know that it was that severe, but it's got to be multiple ligaments from what I've seen. So I'm keeping track of her through social media, and she looks like she is doing outstanding in her recovery. So I'm looking forward to that comeback too. But yeah, um, Pena just destroyed her knee, and she did very well coming back.
She did, man. She did as good as you can. I think it was like a plus 600 or 800 line. She broke the bank when Jason said, man, he lost. I thought he was going to say a lot of money on the Nunes fight, but he said he lost his mind.
Yes.
Man, she says now her injured knee is stronger. I've also heard that with Derrick Rose. Speaking about that, the former NBA MVP, now with the Knicks. I also heard that with Michael Bisping. He said one knee was stronger in the Last Dance documentary with the Michael Jordan documentary when he injured his calf or something. When the team doctor examined him, they said your injured leg is now stronger. Is this a common occurrence that people strengthen the opposite? And what would be good advice to kind of keep everything even, Steven?
Well, I think from an objective tests and measure standpoint, yes, the once rehabilitation is completed, and there are tests, various types of equipment. It's called isokinetic equipment that you can actually test the strength of, for example, with the knee, you can test the strength of the quadricep muscles and the hamstring muscles to see that they're in the correct balance. I think the feeling that the leg is stronger is probably just that. I don't know that it can objectively
Oh,
be said that that leg is stronger than the other,
gotcha. I never thought about
but
that. It's just their opinion. Yeah, I never thought about that.
but they've just been focused on getting the leg recovered. That's just been their singular focus for such a long time that that it probably feels stronger. So that's just my opinion anyway.
And what are your thoughts with Aljamain Sterling? He's had a couple of nagging injuries with the wrist and the neck. It seems like after getting the fight rescheduled, now it seems April UFC 273 that he's good to go. I think people
Yes.
get confused by social media. Of course, a lot of the times he looks great, he's shredded, he's got abs, but people aren't seeing how hard he's punching. Is he taking a huge percentage off that wrist? In grappling, is if somebody gets a front headlock and is very aggressive on his neck, does he say, hold on, hold on?
Well,
What are your thoughts on Aljamain Sterling's injury and his comeback fight?
this is probably my biggest focus as far as injuries right now. He's the surgery he had was a disc replacement surgery. This is a very novel surgery with elite level MMA athletes. As far as I know, there's only one other who's had this surgery. So this isn't a fusion surgery where they like eliminate movement at the disease segment. It's actually a replacement, like you've heard of knee replacements or shoulder joint replacements. This is a disc replacement. So he seems to be, again, I've been all over his social media. He seems to be doing very well. I actually kind of put together a timeline on what has been his recovery, because
Okay.
recovery for this is not, it's not like an isolated ACL tear of the knee that's very well known and you can trust within a year they're going to be back. And it's not like that with this. So his blending of rehabilitation and training has been very interesting to me. Now, you're onto something there. If he gets into a situation where he gets like a standing guillotine applied
Right.
to him or something,
Ouch.
forcible flexion, that's what I'm going to be really interested to see what happens with him, because um, everything else I think he'll be able to deal with. His strength's coming back in his arm. I think it's probably normal now. He started losing strength in his arm. That's how severe his injury was. It's been nagging on him for like 10 years, from what he said. So I don't know. This is going to be very interesting, to see his fight with Yan.
Do you appreciate Aljamain Sterling's style, that he's kind of taking kind of a brief rest, like in the midst of everything? If a fighter's out for 6 months, it feels like an eternity. But when they look back and they say, "Oh man, it was only 6, 8, maybe a year, 8 months," and I needed that and I performed better. Do you appreciate Aljamain taking the time and dealing with the social criticism?
I do, especially with this injury.
Because
Maybe it would be.
hearing Conor McGregor alone, he had a broken ankle after Nate. They quickly did the fight, I think, 3 months later with Eddie Alvarez. He had a partially torn ACL against Max Holloway. You hear warriors like Frank Yeager went into the Jeremy Stevens fight with, I think, partially torn MCL. It's like, man, is this something that is always going to be part of sports, or athletes, are they going to take these breaks and maybe preserve their career?
Well, and I think that's the way Sterling's approached it, in my opinion. When the initial fight, if you remember, the initial fight was announced with Yan. It was like 6 months after he had this disc replacement surgery. Way too early, in my opinion. I mean, he was still having difficulty with fatigue, even isometric movements with his arms, holding an opponent up against the cage. Comparatively simple things like this. It was way too early. So I think he's smart to take his time with this recovery, because the one thing that exists with a neck injury or a back injury that doesn't exist with any other injury is the spinal cord, and the potential for neurological compromise or damage. So I think he's wise.
And if you think about it, he came out wrestling with Peter Yan. That was clearly the game plan, to take him down, use that Matt Serra black belt jiu-jitsu that we saw against Corey Sandhagen, and just cut through him like a hot knife through butter. So what does that mean? He was wrestling in the lead up, whether that's 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks. So that's a lot of wear and tear on the neck.
It is, especially for someone who's dealt with this problem. I believe he said, since his collegiate wrestling days.
Oh wow.
I mean, years, literally. So that is difficult, and it ultimately cost him. I mean, you can say what you want about the illegal strike or whatever during the Yan fight, but that wasn't in and of itself the cause of his injury. It's something that's been growing for years, literally.